Good morning, students. Now continuing with the part 5 chapter electrolysis. Today we are going to discuss about the conduction in compounds. Now from the very beginning we have been studying that electrovalent compounds, they are good conductors of electricity. And why is it so? Because basically electrovalent compound, they consist of oppositely charged ions. And these oppositely charged ions, they are held in position by a strong electrostatic force of attraction. This we have already learned in chemical bonding chapter. So in solid state, an electrovalent compound like sodium chloride cannot conduct electricity despite the presence of ions. So what does it mean? That if an electrovalent compound has to conduct electricity, the ions should be free. Because if we will take it in solid state, the ions are there, they are held to each other by a strong force of attraction, but they are not free to move. And since they are not free to move, so the electricity cannot be conducted. Now, when the electrovalent compounds are melted or they are dissolved in water, so what happens? These forces of attraction between the ions are broken, either by dissolving in water or by heating it. What happens? We break the force of attraction between the ions, and then the ions become free. So once they become free, now they can conduct electricity. Similarly, covalent compounds which are polar in nature like HCl, ammonia, water, they also ionize in aqueous solution and conduct electricity. See, there is a difference between the term ionization and dissociation. That will be more clear. The difference between these two terms will be more clear in the last slide, which I'll be discussing today. But till the time we go to that slide, for the time being, you understand, dissociation happens in electrovalent compounds and ionization happens in polar covalent compounds. So dissociation always used for electrovalent compounds and ionization always used for polar covalent compounds. Now, what are the characteristics of electrolysis? It means when electrolysis is happening, what all important features and what all things that are happening inside the beaker, we should know about it. So number one, see, these you may not learn them directly point wise, but they are important to understand the most important part of the chapter, that is the examples. So basic knowledge should be there. So when electrolysis is happening, first of all, when the electricity is passed in an electrolyte, what happens? The positive ions, they go towards the cathode, that is C goes to C, and the negative ions, anions, goes to anode, that is A goes to A. Now, the number of electrons that will be gained by the anode is equal to the number of electrons given by the cathode. So, it means if anions are going to anode, and what will the anions do there? They will be giving electrons to the anode, and cations will be going to the cathode, and what they will be doing there? They will be accepting the electrons from cathodes. So number of electrons given at anode is equal to the number of electrons taken from the cathode. That is the meaning of point number 2. Point number 3, the product of electrolysis are formed at the anode and cathodes itself, since the exchange of electron take place only at the surface of the electrodes. So where will we notice the product formation? We will not notice any product formation in the electrolyte or anywhere else in the beaker. We will be noticing the product formation only on the surface of the electrodes, because this exchange of electron takes place only at the electrodes. Next point, fourth point, only hydrogen gas and metals are liberated at cathode, hence are called electropositive elements. So why hydrogen gas and metals are called electropositive elements? Because they are liberated at cathode. Now non-metals, they are liberated at anode and they are called as electronegative elements. Now point number 6, we can leave this point because this Faraday's law of electrolysis is not in our syllabus. Now point number 7, the process of electrolysis is a redox reaction. Yes, it's a redox reaction. Because at anode oxidation takes place and at cathode reduction takes place. So both the processes are happening simultaneously. So that is why electrolysis is a redox reaction. A very important note, that electrolysis is a redox reaction. Now you see the example. NaCl is marked by a double-headed arrow, so it's a reversible reaction. So Na plus and Cl minus. Now these sodium ions, they start moving towards the cathode because they are cations. So C goes to C. So what does it go and do there? It accepts electron equal to the valency. So Na plus accepts one electron and becomes sodium atom. Similarly at anode, Cl minus will go and give away its electron and become Cl. Now chlorine cannot exist, or it cannot be stable in a monoatomic form. So once more this kind of reaction happens and two Cls which are formed as a result of two steps, so they both combine to make a diatomic chlorine gas. Now overall reaction, you can see that's the reason I told you that the electrons at cathode and anode, the business of giving and taking electrons at cathode and anode should be in the same number. So that is why we have to do balancing. So we will have to balance the equation at cathode. So it will become 2Na plus 2E minus gives 2Na. So that is the reason once we balance, it becomes 2NaCl gives 2Na plus Cl2. Because the number of electrons at anode and cathode should be balanced. Now point number 8, kindly note, the AC current does not cause any chemical change. So in the process of electrolysis, we never use AC current. We only prefer, or we only use direct current, because the AC current does not cause any chemical change when passed through an electrolyte. So point number 8 is very important. And point number 7, that the process of electrolysis is a redox reaction. These two can be used as a give reason or fill in the blanks question. Now, what is electrolytic dissociation? Now, as I told you, dissociation is happening only in electrovalent compounds. Now, see, they have shown the dissociation, electrolytic dissociation happening in sodium chloride. Now you can see from the picture that Na plus and Cl minus, they are having strong electrostatic force of attraction. Now as a result, Na plus and Cl minus are strongly held with each other in a crystal lattice, and now they do not have free ions. So they have ions, but the ions are not free. This is the condition in the solid state. Now come to the second picture. Now in the second picture, what is happening? The bond is getting weakened. So they are writing weakening of the bond. Now how is this weakening of the bond happening? This weakening of the bond is happening because either you have dissolved NaCl in water, that is you have made an aqueous solution, or some compounds which are not water soluble. Then what to do with them? Now for them, we take help of heating. We give high temperature and then we melt the solid. So as a result, the weakening of the bond takes place. So here they are showing you, first picture is when the sodium ions and the chloride ions, they are strongly held with each other. And in this condition, they will not allow electricity, they will not allow the conduction of electricity. Now in the second state, they are giving you a pictorial representation that the bond is becoming weak. Why? Because either you have put it in water, dissolved it in water, or you have heated the salt. As a result, the forces are becoming weak. Now this next term is ionization. Now remember I told you, ionization happens in polar covalent compounds, and in this polar covalent compounds are converted into ions. Now you know covalent compounds do not have ions because they are formed by sharing of electrons. So how can they have ions? But in case of polar covalent compounds, the ions are formed when you dissolve them in water. Now this is not with all the covalent compounds. This is only possible with polar covalent compounds, which on dissolving in water, they are converted into ions. This is called ionization. So formation of ions is called ionization, which happens in polar covalent compounds. Now for example, hydrogen chloride. Now if you take gaseous or pure liquid state HCl in unionized, you will see that it does not conduct electric current. Now if you take HCl gas or you take pure liquid state, that is after liquefaction, you will see that the HCl gas does not conduct electricity. Naturally, it will not conduct because it's a covalent compound and it does not have ions. Now, however, if you take a polar covalent compound, that is HCl, and you know that there is slight partial positive and partial negative charge, that is why we are calling them polar covalent compounds. When this kind of compound, which already has a partial plus and partial minus, why? Because of the difference in electronegativity, when such kind of compound is added to water, then the water exerts an electrostatic pull. See water, see the structure of water also. In water, oxygen is partial negative. So this partial negative will attract electrostatic pull on slightly positively charged hydrogen. So what will happen? H plus of HCl goes to oxygen of water and it makes hydronium ion, and your chloride ion is separated from hydrogen ion. So thus hydrogen ions, they combine with water to make hydronium ions. So now you can see the ions are made, and once the ions are made, now it can conduct electricity. So this entire thing which they are explaining in the form of point 1, 2 and 3, this is called as ionization. That is, how do the ions originate in polar covalent compounds. It does not happen for non-polar covalent compounds because you know the story starts with the difference in electronegativity. So non-polar compounds do not have this difference on electronegativity, so they do not meet the first requirement only. So when they do not have these first requirement only, so they do not conduct electricity even if you dissolve in water. Why? Because they are not soluble in water, because they are non-polar. Now see the broad, and you know whatever we have learned in 3-4 slides, now this is the actual difference which you have to learn. Now what is ionization? Ionization, start learning from point number 2. Go reverse. Now ionization happens in polar covalent compounds and dissociation happens in electrovalent compounds. Now here they are showing you that polar covalent compounds like HCl, carbonic acid, ammonium hydroxide, now they all when dissolved in water starts conducting electricity, and electrovalent compounds, they conduct electricity because they show dissociation. Now what is the definition of ionization? Formation of positively or negatively charged ions from molecules which are not initially in the ionic state. Now remember, in HCl there were no ions. They were only having difference of electronegativity. But when you dissolve HCl in water, then hydronium and chloride ions are formed. So this is what is meant by formation of positively or negatively charged ions from molecules, because covalent compounds consist of molecules. Now dissociation is separation of ions. Simple, you know, if you can't learn such a big, difference, just learn ionization is formation of ions and dissociation is separation of ions. So I hope you have understood the concept of this ionization and dissociation, because it is very important to know when to use the word dissociation and when to use the word ionization. Now that will be all for this video. We'll be continuing further. Thank you so much.